One of the challenges was developing a local ecosystem. And, it's a complex system product. So that's one key thing to note here, right? So it has everything from cutting-edge silicon. We developed a completely brand new hardware platform. The software, pretty complicated software with the iOS or the Internet Operating System that Cisco has. A lot of compliance and testing for telecom grade. There are a lot of certifications that are global, which are different across different parts of the world. And of course, the manufacturing piece. And I'll kind of just take you through what model we followed, what the challenges were, and how we solved them. So for the silicon, we used silicon from vendors, but the primary silicon was very cutting edge, and we were leading adopters. And we co-developed some of the system features. The gaps we found were in some of the design knowledge, and these are gaps locally. And again, the maturity of different vendors is to different levels here. So this is not a statement on any particular vendor, but as we are all aware, there are companies that have invested more in India versus the others who have not invested as much yet. So that was the challenge, but we built local technical support and used our relationship and our commitment to India site to have these vendors build their sites as well. From a hardware development test perspective, we used a combination of partner and Cisco engineers, and primarily our service engineering partner. And we found that was fairly mature here. There were a few areas where we had challenges, and we supplemented that with experts in the company, global experts in the company. And that's the typical design process anyway. It's not specific to doing things from a remote site. In any global company, there's expertise in different parts of the company, and you tap into it to kind of fill in gaps, right? So that's what we did over there. On the software side, again, we used a combination of partner and Cisco engineers, but primarily Cisco in this side. And the reason for that was we found a limited talent pool for some of the advanced developing protocols. If you look at the protocols in the networking industry, like MPLS or 1588, these are moving, day by day. And it was really hard to find senior technical talent that could work on those. In compliance testing, again, we used a combination of local labs and Cisco labs. We found a little bit of lack of expertise in some of the areas here, and it was primarily in the knowledge of global certifications. So when you're building a global telecom product, different countries have their own regulations. You look at China, Brazil, Vietnam, Korea, all of them have tweaks here and there. And Cisco, having been in this space for a long time, has over the years collected this knowledge and experience. So what we did was transferred this knowledge to the labs here. We took inventory of the labs, we shared test plans, we shared our best practices that we had learned and collected over the years, and enabled some of the labs here to do that kind of testing. Manufacturing, we chose to be out of India and South Asia, and the reason for that was firstly having few sources locally here, but also to leverage Cisco economies of scale. We have lots of products which go through certain fabs and manufacturing vendors, so we just relied on that. And ultimately, looking back, I found there were 7 lessons, or what I would call criteria for success of an effort like this. Now, again, keep in mind this is very specific to this particular effort. There are some things here which probably apply to everybody. Some things apply to first-time efforts out of remote sites of MNCs, and there are some which probably apply generally. So one was defining the right product. The product had to be right. It had to have a business relevance. It had to have it couldn't be something that was a core strength of the company, because that otherwise could be done in the headquarters. It was something that had proximity to the local market, so that was another important factor. Complexity was another thing. It wasn't too complex that it would take 4 or 5 years, which would test the patience of the company, but it wasn't a small Mickey Mouse product. It was complex enough to show some technical chops and build credibility for the site. Second one was seeding and grooming talent. In this space, the 2 key areas we found lacking were senior technologists and architects and product management people. So we had to seed those and groom those. Third one was creating a culture of innovation and product development, which is quite different from service engineering or doing components, right? So we had to really build a culture of that. The fourth one was building credibility with power centers. And this is, again, very specific to the multinational company context. There are several power centers in a company like Cisco. There's the marketing guys, there's the sales guys, there's senior technologists in other parts of the company who have a very powerful who have a lot of say in what happens. And we had to build credibility over time. So with prototypes, with getting traction in the field, we were able to build that credibility over time. Fifth was developing a strong local ecosystem of partners, and I talked to that. The sixth one was evolution of the operational model. And this is where I spoke about incubation, prototype building, and mainstream development. All three phases were very essential for this first-time effort. Without incubation, if we hadn't gone through the incubation phase in a small group, we wouldn't have probably reached the next step. And if we hadn't done more mainstream product development processes, we would not have had a Cisco product. It would have remained a prototype in the lab. So that was also key. And lastly, it was pure perseverance. A first-time effort like that requires complete dedication and the feeling of being part of something big, which was there in the team. So that helped. And in conclusion, so today we've expanded the portfolio to several other products. Some of these came from other development groups, but are now part of what's called the Service Provider Access Group, which is located out of Bangalore completely. And in other parts as well, there are other technologies also being worked on. So that's all I had. Essentially, if you want to develop leading edge products out of emerging countries, I think it's just a combination of selecting the right product, grooming talent, building a strong ecosystem, and creating a culture of innovation and product development. And of course, it's the first time you're doing, it's like a startup. You really need to persevere through several challenges and dynamics of headquarters and remote sites and so forth. So with that, I'll conclude. If you have any questions, we can address them in the Q&A. Thank you.
Ishwar, thank you very much. I think this is another very clear demonstrator of the capability in developing the complex products, not only the products, but as well as the ecosystem and all the soft aspects which you highlighted so clearly in 7 chapters.